Her designer heel crushed his fingers against the marble floor. Victoria Ashford III ground down harder, twisting until Marcus Thompson screamed. "Servants don't touch members," she laughed, grabbing a champagne glass and pouring it over his head. "Now lick it up, like the dog you are." The entire Riverside Country Club watched. 50 wealthy guests, 20 staff members. Nobody moved. Marcus was 34 years old, single father. His 6-year-old son Jalen was dying of leukemia. Every dollar from this job meant another day of treatment. He lowered his head toward the floor. Then the door swung open. A Navy SEAL and his 90-pound German Shepherd stepped inside. Victoria Ashford had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Subscribe now and follow this story to the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's continue. The champagne burned his eyes. Marcus Thompson stayed on his hands and knees, the cold marble pressing into his palms, the liquid dripping from his face onto the pristine white floor. His fingers throbbed where Victoria's heel had crushed them. He could feel the bones grinding, but he didn't cry out again. He wouldn't give her that satisfaction. "I said lick it up." Victoria's voice was sharp, amused, the voice of a woman who had never been told no. "What's wrong? Can't hear me down there?" "Ms. Ashford, please." Marcus kept his voice steady. "It was an accident. The tray slipped." "The tray slipped," she mimicked his voice, high and mocking. "That's what you people always say. The tray slipped. I tripped. It wasn't my fault." She crouched down, her face inches from his. "But it's always your fault, isn't it? Because you're careless, because you're incompetent, because you don't belong here." Marcus stared at the floor. "Don't react. Don't give her anything. Think about Jalen. Think about the hospital bills. Think about keeping this job for one more week, one more day, one more hour. Look at me when I'm talking to you." He raised his eyes. Victoria Ashford III was 28 years old, heiress to the Ashford banking empire, worth more money than Marcus could count in a lifetime. Her blonde hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. Her eyes were completely empty. "That's better," she smiled. "Now, I gave you an instruction. Are you going to follow it, or do I need to call security?" "Victoria, darling, that's enough." A man's voice from behind her, smooth, practiced. "You're making a scene." "I'm making a point, Bradley." Victoria didn't turn around. "This one spilled champagne on my Louboutins. Do you know how much these cost?" "I'll buy you new ones. Come on, let's get back to the party." Victoria stood slowly, deliberately, making sure her heel came down hard on Marcus's hand one more time. He bit his lip until he tasted blood. "Clean this up," she said, "and pray I don't speak to management about your clumsiness." She walked away, Bradley Wentworth following like a trained dog. The other guests returned to their conversations, their champagne, their world of casual cruelty. Within 30 seconds, it was as if nothing had happened. Marcus stayed on the floor for a moment longer, his hand trembling, his eyes burning. Then he stood, grabbed a towel from his station, and began cleaning up the mess. "You okay?" Maria, one of the other servers, appeared at his side. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Fine." "Your hand." "I said I'm fine." Maria looked at him with eyes full of pity, which was somehow worse than Victoria's contempt. She knew what Marcus knew. They all knew. The Ashfords owned this club. The Ashfords owned this town. The Ashfords could do whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted, and nobody would stop them. "Marcus?" The voice came from behind the service door. Harold Chen, the floor manager, his face pale and sweating. "My office, now." Marcus's stomach dropped. He knew what was coming. Harold's office was small, cramped, filled with schedules and inventory lists. Harold closed the door and turned to face Marcus, unable to meet his eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't." She called her father, Richard Ashford himself. "He wants you gone." "For spilling champagne?" "Harold, the tray slipped. The handle was loose. I reported it 3 times." "I know." Harold's voice cracked. "I know. But it doesn't matter. You know it doesn't matter." Marcus felt something cold spreading through his chest. "Harold, my son is sick. He has leukemia. The treatments cost $15,000 each session. I need this job. I'm sorry, Marcus. There's nothing I can do." Harold finally looked at him, and his eyes were wet. "If I fight this, they'll fire me too. And then who takes care of my family?" Marcus wanted to scream. He wanted to grab Harold by his perfectly pressed collar and shake him until he understood what this meant. But he didn't. Because Harold was right. Because fighting the Ashfords was like fighting gravity itself. "Can I finish my shift? At least get paid for today?" "She wants you out now. Security is waiting." "Security," Marcus laughed bitterly. "For a man who spilled champagne. For a man who made Victoria Ashford look bad." Harold pulled an envelope from his desk. "This is your final check. I added an extra week's pay from my own pocket. It's not much, but keep it." "Marcus, I said keep it." He grabbed the envelope, shoved it in his pocket, and turned toward the door. Then he stopped. "You know she's done this before. You know she's hurt people." "I know. And you do nothing." Harold was silent. "That's what I thought." Marcus opened the door. "Goodbye, Harold." The security guards were waiting in the hallway. 2 of them, both built like refrigerators, both wearing expressions of bored professionalism. "Mr. Thompson." The bigger one gestured toward the service exit. "This way, please." "I know the way. I've worked here for 2 years." "Policy requires an escort." Marcus walked between them, his head high, his dignity the only thing he had left. They passed the kitchen, where Gloria Chen, the head cook, 67 years old, worked at this club longer than Marcus had been alive, watched with tears in her eyes. "I'll pray for you, Marcus," she whispered. "Save your prayers, Gloria. God doesn't work at the Riverside Country Club." They reached the service exit. The bigger guard opened the door, and Marcus stepped out into the parking lot. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful. Indifferent. "Your vehicle is over there." The guard pointed to the employee lot. "Don't come back." Marcus turned to face him. "You know what she did in there? You know what she made me do?" The guard's expression didn't change. "Have a good evening, Mr. Thompson." The door closed. The lock clicked. Marcus stood alone in the parking lot, staring at his 2008 Honda Civic, the car he and Denise had bought together when they first got married. The car that still smelled like her perfume if you pressed your face into the passenger seat. Denise. 2 years since the accident. 2 years since the police told him his wife had driven off a bridge at 3 in the morning, even though Denise never drove at night, even though she was afraid of bridges, even though she had been investigating the Ashford family's financial connections when she died. The case was closed in 48 hours. No investigation, no justice. And now Marcus worked at their country club, serving champagne to the people who might have killed his wife. Because Jalen needed treatment, and treatment cost money, and money came from jobs, and jobs in Riverside all came back to the Ashfords. He was trapped in a prison without walls. His phone buzzed, a text from Martha, his mother-in-law. Jalen had a good day, kept his food down, asking when you'll be home. Marcus typed back. On my way. Tell him Daddy will be there soon. He didn't tell her about losing his job. He couldn't. Not yet. He got in the car and sat there for a moment, his hands on the wheel, his eyes closed. The anger was there, burning in his chest, demanding release. But he pushed it down. He had to push it down, because anger was a luxury he couldn't afford. Jalen needed him calm. Jalen needed him employed. Jalen needed him alive. Marcus started the car and drove. The apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, in a building that had been nice 30 years ago, and was now slowly dying of neglect. But it was clean. It was safe. It was home. Daddy! Jalen was waiting at the door, his small body thinner than it should be, his eyes too big for his face. But his smile, God, that smile could light up the whole world. Marcus scooped him up, holding him tight, breathing in the scent of his son. Hospital antiseptic, and children's shampoo, and something else. Something that was just Jalen. Hey, little man, how was your day? Good. Grandma Martha made pancakes, and I only threw up once, and I watched 3 whole episodes of Spider-Man. Only 1 throw-up? That's amazing. Marcus carried him inside. You're getting stronger, buddy. The doctor said the medicine is working. Jalen's voice dropped to a whisper. But she also said I need more medicine. Is that okay, Daddy? Can we get more? Marcus felt his heart crack. Of course, baby. We can get all the medicine you need. Promise? Promise. Martha was in the kitchen, her face showing the kind of exhaustion that came from caring for a sick child, while pretending everything was fine. She was 63 years old, Denise's mother, the only grandparent Jalen had left. She had moved in after Denise died, leaving her own life behind to help raise her grandson. How was work? She asked, her eyes searching his face. Fine. The lie came easy. Too easy. Just a long shift. Martha looked at him for a moment longer, then nodded. She knew something was wrong. She always knew. But she also knew when to push and when to wait. Dinner's ready. Jalen, go wash your hands. But Daddy just got home. Hands, now. Jalen ran off, and Martha turned to Marcus, her voice low. What happened? Nothing. Marcus? I said nothing happened. Your hand is swelling. He looked down. She was right. His fingers were already turning purple where Victoria's heel had crushed them. I dropped a tray, hit my hand on the edge of the table. Martha didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. Let me get some ice. I'm fine, Martha. Ice. Now. Marcus sat at the kitchen table while she wrapped ice in a towel and pressed it to his hand. Jalen came running back, his hands still wet, his face full of joy at the simple act of sitting down to dinner with his family. They ate in silence for a few minutes, the kind of comfortable quiet that came from living together, from loving each other, from knowing that words weren't always necessary. Then Jalen spoke. Daddy, why do bad things happen to good people? Marcus froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. What do you mean, buddy? Like Mommy. She was good. She was really good. But she died. Jalen's voice was matter-of-fact, the way children speak about death before they truly understand it. And now I'm sick. Am I sick because I'm bad? No. Marcus set down his fork and turned to face his son. Jalen, look at me. You are not sick because you're bad. You are the best kid in the whole world. Sometimes bad things just happen. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Then why? How do you explain evil to a 6-year-old? How do you explain a world where rich people crush your fingers for sport? Where your wife dies for asking questions? where your son's life depends on money you don't have. I don't know, buddy. It was the most honest thing Marcus had said all day. I don't know why bad things happen, but I know that we have to keep fighting. We have to keep being good, even when bad things happen to us, because that's how we win. Win what? Everything. Marcus pulled Jalen into his lap. We win everything, buddy, by not giving up, by loving each other, by being brave even when we're scared. Jalen was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up with those big brown eyes. I'm scared sometimes, Daddy, about the needles and the medicine and being sick. I know, baby. I'm scared too. You are? All the time. But you're a grown-up. Grown-ups aren't supposed to be scared. Marcus smiled, though it hurt. Grown-ups are scared all the time, Jalen. We just learn to hide it better. But being scared doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're brave enough to keep going, even when things are hard. Jalen nodded slowly, processing this. Then he wrapped his small arms around Marcus's neck. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, little man. More than anything in the whole world. Martha watched them from across the table, her eyes wet, her hands folded in her lap. She had lost her daughter. She might lose her grandson. But in this moment, in this small apartment, there was still love. There was still hope. There was still something worth fighting for. Later that night, after Jalen was asleep, Marcus sat on the fire escape, staring at the city lights. The ice had helped his hand, but it was still throbbing, a constant reminder of his humiliation. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Hello? Mr. Thompson, a voice he didn't recognize. Cold. Professional. This is Dr. Williams at Riverside General. I'm calling about Jalen's treatment schedule. Marcus's heart stopped. Is he okay? Did something happen? He's fine, but there's been a complication with his insurance. We need you to come in tomorrow morning to discuss his continued care. What kind of complication? I'm not at liberty to discuss the details over the phone. 9 o'clock. Don't be late. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, a cold dread spreading through his body. Insurance complications. The same phrase they'd used before, when Denise's hospital bills started getting reviewed, when doctors suddenly became unavailable, when treatments got delayed until it was almost too late. The Ashfords. This was them. It had to be. Victoria wasn't satisfied with taking his job. She wanted to take everything. His hands were shaking. His vision was blurring. For the first time since Denise died, Marcus felt himself falling apart. Denise, he whispered to the empty night. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fight them. They're too powerful. They own everything. They own everyone. The city didn't answer. I promised Jalen I would protect him. I promised you I would keep him safe. But how can I keep that promise when they can do whatever they want? When nobody stops them? When nobody even tries? A car horn blared somewhere in the distance. Life going on, indifferent to his pain. I'm so tired, baby. I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of fighting a war I can't win. He closed his eyes, and for one terrible moment, he thought about the bridge where Denise had died. About how easy it would be to follow her, about how peaceful it might feel to just stop. But then he heard Jalen cough through the window. A small sound, a fragile sound, a sound that said, I'm still here. I still need you. Don't give up. Marcus opened his eyes. Okay, he said to the darkness. Okay, I'll keep fighting. I don't know how, but I'll keep fighting. He went inside, checked on Jalen one more time, and finally fell into a restless sleep, dreaming of champagne and designer heels and a woman's laugh that sounded like breaking glass. Tomorrow would bring new horrors, but tonight, in this moment, his son was alive, and that was enough. The next morning, Marcus arrived at Riverside General at 8:47 a.m. The hospital was busy, nurses rushing past, patients waiting in uncomfortable chairs, the smell of antiseptic heavy in the air. He found Dr. Williams's office on the 4th floor. The nameplate on the door read, Dr. Patricia Williams, Oncology Administrator. Marcus had never heard of her before. Jalen's usual doctor was Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a kind woman who had been treating him since the diagnosis. He knocked. "Come in." The office was small, sterile, filled with filing cabinets and medical charts. Dr. Williams sat behind her desk, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and eyes that looked like they had seen too much suffering to feel anything anymore. "Mr. Thompson, please, sit down." Marcus sat. "What's going on with my son's insurance?" Dr. Williams folded her hands on her desk. "I'll get straight to the point. Your son's treatment has been flagged for review by your insurance provider. They're claiming some of the procedures may not be medically necessary." "Not medically necessary? He has leukemia." "I understand your frustration. My son will die without treatment. How is that not medically necessary?" "Mr. Thompson, please lower your voice." Marcus forced himself to breathe. In, out, control. "Who flagged the review?" "I'm not at liberty to say." "Was it the Ashfords? Did Richard Ashford make a call?" Dr. Williams' expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I was fired from the Riverside Country Club yesterday. Victoria Ashford assaulted me, and when I didn't fight back, she called her father to have me removed. And now, less than 24 hours later, my son's treatment is being reviewed? That's not a coincidence. I suggest you contact your insurance provider directly." "I'm asking you." Marcus leaned forward. "Doctor to parent. Is someone trying to kill my son to punish me?" The silence stretched. Dr. Williams looked at her desk, at the wall, at anything but Marcus's face. "There's nothing I can do," she finally said. "I'm sorry." "Can't or won't?" "Mr. Thompson, I have a family too. I have children." "So do I." Marcus stood up. "Where's Dr. Mitchell? I want to speak to Jalen's actual doctor." "Dr. Mitchell is no longer assigned to your son's case." "What?" "She was reassigned this morning. Administrative decision." Marcus stared at her. Dr. Mitchell had been treating Jalen for 18 months. She knew his case inside and out. She had cried with Marcus when the diagnosis came in. She had held Jalen's hand during the worst of the treatments. And now she was gone. "Who made that decision?" "I'm not at liberty." "Say that one more time." Marcus's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Tell me one more time that you're not at liberty to help a dying child and see what happens." Dr. Williams's hand moved toward her phone. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Or what? You'll call security? Have them drag me out like they did at the club?" "Mr. Thompson, my wife died 2 years ago. Did you know that? She was investigating the Ashfords when her car went off a bridge. The police said it was an accident. Everyone said it was an accident. But I know the truth. And now they're doing it again. They're going to kill my son because I embarrassed a rich woman." Dr. Williams said nothing. "You know what they are. You know what they do. And you sit there in your white coat pretending you're bound by rules while they murder children." "I think you should go." Marcus walked to the door, then stopped. "My son is 6 years old. He likes Spider-Man and pancakes and his grandmother's stories about his mother. He asks me every night why bad things happen to good people, and I don't have an answer. I don't know how to tell him that bad things happen because people like you are too afraid to stop them. He opened the door. "Mr. Thompson." Dr. Williams's voice was barely a whisper. "There's a storage room on the second floor. Room 247. Sometimes files get misfiled there. Files about patients. Files about other things." Marcus turned back. Dr. Williams was staring at her desk, her face pale. "I didn't tell you that." "Tell me what?" She looked up, and for just a moment he saw something human behind those dead eyes. "Save your son, Mr. Thompson. Whatever it takes." Marcus nodded once and left. Room 247 was unlocked. Inside, boxes were stacked floor to ceiling, medical records and administrative files and forgotten paperwork from years past. Marcus didn't know what he was looking for, only that Dr. Williams had pointed him here for a reason. He started searching. 20 minutes later, he found it. A file labeled Mitchell, Sarah, Personnel Actions. Inside was a termination notice, dated yesterday, signed by Dr. Williams herself. The reason? Insubordination. Failure to follow administrative directives. Attached was an email chain between Dr. Williams and someone named R. Ashford. Marcus read it. From R. Ashford to P. Williams. Subject: Thompson case. The boy's treatment needs to end. Make it happen. Mitchell is becoming a problem. Reassign her or terminate. Your choice. From P. Williams to R. Ashford. Subject: R. E. Thompson case. Understood. It will be done. Marcus's hands were shaking. Here it was. Proof. Richard Ashford ordering the hospital to stop treating his son. Dr. Williams complying. Dr. Mitchell being punished for trying to help. He photographed everything with his phone. Then he kept searching, and what he found next made his blood run cold. Another file, older, labeled Ashford Foundation, Donations and Agreements. Inside were contracts, agreements between the Ashford family and Riverside General Hospital. Millions of dollars in donations over the past decade in exchange for administrative cooperation on certain matters. There was a list of names, patients whose treatments had been reviewed or delayed. Most of them had died. Denise's name was on the list. Marcus stared at the page. His wife's name, typed neatly, followed by a date. The day before her accident. Status: resolved. They hadn't just killed Denise. They had planned it. They had documented it. They had filed it away like she was nothing more than paperwork. Marcus sank to the floor, the file clutched in his hands, tears streaming down his face. 2 years. 2 years of grief, of questions, of not knowing why. And here was the answer, in black and white. His wife was murdered because she got too close to the truth. His son was being targeted because Marcus wouldn't stay quiet. The Ashfords didn't just own this town. They owned life and death itself. "Denise," he whispered, "I found them. I found what you were looking for." But finding wasn't enough. He needed to stop them. He needed to make them pay. He needed help. Marcus left the hospital through a side exit, the files hidden in his jacket. His mind was racing, trying to figure out his next move. He couldn't go to the police. The Ashfords owned them. He couldn't go to the media. Denise had tried that, and look what happened. He needed someone outside the system, Someone who couldn't be bought. Someone who wasn't afraid. He got in his car and sat there, staring at nothing. "Who do I call?" he said to the empty seat where Denise used to sit. Who in this whole damn town would stand up to them? His phone buzzed. A news alert. Local hero returns. Navy SEAL Commander Derek Williams receives Medal of Honor at Riverside ceremony. Marcus looked at the picture. A black man in dress whites, medals gleaming on his chest, standing at attention while the governor pinned another decoration to his uniform. Beside him was a German shepherd with intelligent eyes and a chest full of service ribbons of its own. The caption read, "Commander Williams and his military working dog Shadow survived 3 tours in Afghanistan, including an ambush that killed 6 members of their unit. Williams is credited with saving countless lives and bringing down multiple terrorist networks." Marcus stared at the picture. A man who had faced the worst evil in the world and survived. A man who had nothing to fear from small-town tyrants. A man who might, just might, be crazy enough to help. Marcus made a decision. He started the car and drove toward the ceremony. The medal ceremony was being held at the Riverside Convention Center, a building that the Ashfords had donated and named after themselves. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. He parked in the back lot and walked toward the entrance. Security was heavy. Local police, military personnel, Secret Service for the governor. Getting inside would be impossible. But Marcus didn't need to get inside. He waited by the side entrance, the one where the VIPs would exit after the ceremony. 2 hours later, the doors opened and people started streaming out. Marcus saw him immediately. Commander Derek Williams was taller in person, broader, with the kind of presence that made everyone around him seem smaller. He walked with a slight limp, old injury maybe, but his posture was perfect, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings. The German shepherd walked beside him, matching his pace exactly, alert to every movement. "Commander Williams!" Derek turned. His eyes found Marcus, assessed him in a fraction of a second. "Can I help you?" "My name is Marcus Thompson. I need to talk to you. It's about my son." Derek's expression didn't change. "I'm not a doctor. It's not medical. It's—" Marcus hesitated. "How do you explain something like this?" "Someone is trying to kill him, and I think you're the only person in this town who can help." Shadow growled low in his throat. "Easy, boy." Derek's hand touched the dog's head. "Who's trying to kill your son?" "The Ashfords." Something flickered in Derek's eyes. Recognition. Interest. "The banking family?" "They own this town. They murdered my wife 2 years ago. Now they're going after my son because I embarrassed Victoria Ashford at her country club." "Embarrassed her how?" Marcus showed him his hand, still bruised and swollen. "She crushed my fingers with her heel because I spilled champagne. Then she had me fired. This morning, my son's cancer treatment was canceled. I found documents proving the Ashfords have been ordering the hospital to deny care to people who cross them." Derek was quiet for a long moment. Shadow's ears were pricked forward, his attention focused entirely on Marcus. "You got proof?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed him the photographs. The emails between Dr. Williams and Richard Ashford. The list of names. Denise's file. Derek scrolled through them slowly, his face darkening with each image. "Your wife was investigating them?" "She was a journalist. She was onto something big. Money laundering, cartel connections. I don't know exactly what. Then she died in a car accident that wasn't an accident." "And you've been working at their country club?" "It was the only job that paid enough for my son's treatment. I thought if I kept my head down, stayed invisible, they'd leave us alone." Marcus's voice cracked. "I was wrong." Derek handed back the phone. Why come to me? Because you're the only person in this town they can't buy. You faced worse than them. You've taken down terrorists and warlords. The Ashfords are just bullies with money. Bullies with money are sometimes worse than terrorists. Derek's voice was flat. Terrorists believe in something. Bullies just believe in themselves. Will you help me? Shadow whined softly, pressing against Derek's leg. The two of them seemed to communicate without words. Where's your son now? At home, with my mother-in-law. Is he safe? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Derek looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then he made a decision. Get in your car. Drive home. Don't stop for anything. Don't talk to anyone. When you get there, lock the doors and wait. Wait for what? For me. Derek's eyes were hard. The Ashfords picked the wrong family to target. Now they're going to find out what happens when someone actually fights back. You'll help us? I'll do more than help. Derek turned toward his vehicle, Shadow falling into step beside him. I'll make sure they never hurt anyone again. Marcus watched him go, hope blooming in his chest for the first time in 2 years. He didn't know if it was enough, but it was something. And right now, something was all he had. Marcus drove home with his hands shaking on the wheel. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every car behind him looked like a threat. He kept checking his rear-view mirror, half expecting black SUVs to appear, half expecting the Ashfords to finish what they started. His phone buzzed. Martha. Marcus, where are you? Jalen's asking for you. I'm coming. 10 minutes. Is everything okay? You sound strange. Everything's fine, just keep the doors locked until I get there. Locked? Marcus, what's going on? I'll explain when I get home. I love you, Martha. He hung up before she could ask more questions. The last thing he needed was Martha panicking. She had already lost her daughter. She couldn't lose her grandson, too. The apartment building appeared ahead, and Marcus felt a small wave of relief. But it vanished the moment he saw the black sedan parked across the street. Tinted windows, no license plate, engine running. They were already watching him. Marcus pulled into his parking spot and sat there, his heart pounding. Should he run? Should he call the police? The police worked for the Ashfords. Should he grab Jalen and Martha and drive until they ran out of gas? A knock on his window made him jump. Derek Williams stood there, Shadow at his side, his expression unreadable. You made it. Derek's voice was calm. Good. Now get inside. We need to talk. How did you get here before me? I know shortcuts. Come on. They walked into the building together, Shadow's nails clicking on the linoleum floor. Marcus noticed the dog's ears were constantly moving, scanning for threats. It was unsettling and comforting at the same time. Martha opened the door before Marcus could knock. Her eyes went wide when she saw Derek. Marcus, who is this? A friend. Martha, this is Commander Derek Williams. He's going to help us. Help us with what? Everything. Marcus stepped inside, pulling Derek with him. Where's Jalen? In his room, playing with his trucks. Martha's voice dropped to a whisper. Marcus, you're scaring me. What's happening? Derek spoke before Marcus could answer. Ma'am, your grandson is in danger. The people who hurt your daughter are coming for him. I'm here to make sure they don't succeed. Martha's face went pale. The Ashfords. You know about them? I suspected. Martha's hands were trembling. Denise told me before she died. She said she found something big, something that could bring them down. She said if anything happened to her, The truth would come out. Her voice broke. But it never did. Do you know what she found? No, she wouldn't tell me. Said it was too dangerous. Derek nodded slowly. Where did she keep her work, her notes, her research? She had a laptop. The police took it after the accident. Said it was evidence. We never got it back. What about backups, external drives, cloud storage? Martha shook her head. I don't know. Denise was always so careful. She said the less I knew, the safer I'd be. Daddy! Jalen came running from his room, his face lighting up when he saw Marcus. Then he noticed Derek and Shadow, and his eyes went even wider. Is that a wolf? He's a dog, buddy. His name is Shadow. Can I pet him? Derek crouched down to Jalen's level. Shadow, friend. The German shepherd's posture immediately softened. He padded forward and lay down in front of Jalen, his tail wagging gently. He's so big! Jalen reached out and touched Shadow's fur. He's soft, like a teddy bear. He likes you, Derek said. He doesn't like everyone. Really? Really. He's very picky about his friends. Jalen beamed, his small hands buried in Shadow's thick coat. For a moment, watching his son smile, Marcus almost forgot about the danger they were in. Almost. Jalen, buddy, I need you to stay with Grandma Martha for a little while. Mr. Derek and I have some grown-up stuff to talk about. But I want to play with Shadow. Shadow will stay with you. Is that okay, Commander? Derek nodded. Shadow, guard. The dog's ears perked up, and he positioned himself between Jalen and the door. He won't let anything happen to your son. Martha took Jalen's hand. Come on, sweetheart. Let's get some cookies while the grown-ups talk. When they were gone, Derek turned to Marcus. Show me everything. Marcus pulled out his phone and handed it over. Derek scrolled through the photographs slowly, his face growing darker with each image. These emails between the hospital administrator and Richard Ashford. You found these in a storage room? Dr. Williams pointed me there. I think she wanted someone to find them. Dr. Williams is taking a risk. If the Ashfords find out she helped you... I know, but she did it anyway. Derek nodded, something like respect in his eyes. There are still good people in this town, hidden, scared, but still there. Can you use these files to bring them down? These prove intent. They prove the Ashfords ordered your son's treatment stopped. But they don't prove anything about your wife, and they don't connect to whatever larger operation Denise was investigating. Then what do we do? Derek was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his own phone and dialed a number. Rodriguez, it's Stone. A pause. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be on leave. Something came up. Another pause. I need you to dig into a family called Ashford. Richard Ashford, based in Riverside. Banking empire. Possible connections to the Mendoza cartel. A long pause. Everything you can find. Financials, legal history, any bodies they might be hiding. And Rodriguez. This one's personal. He hung up and looked at Marcus. Rodriguez is my intelligence guy. Best in the business. If there's dirt on the Ashfords, he'll find it. How long will it take? Depends on how deep it's buried. Could be hours. Could be days. Jalen doesn't have days. His treatment, your son will get his treatment. Derek's voice was firm. I'll make sure of it. How? Let me worry about that. Right now, I need to know everything about your wife. Everything she told you. Everything she was working on. Every person she talked to. Marcus sat down heavily. She didn't tell me much. Said it was too dangerous. But I know she was investigating the Ashford Foundation. Their charity work. What about their charity work? She said it was a front. that the money wasn't going where it was supposed to go. She traced donations from the Ashfords to shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Then the money disappeared. Money laundering. That's what she thought, but she couldn't prove it. She needed access to their internal records, bank statements, transaction histories. Did she get access? I don't know. She was acting strange the week before she died. Excited but scared. She said she was close to something big, something that would blow the whole thing open. Derek leaned forward. Did she meet with anyone? Any sources? Marcus thought hard. There was someone, a man. She met him a few times at a coffee shop downtown. I saw them once. She said he was a whistleblower, someone inside the Ashford organization who wanted to come clean. Did you get his name? No, she never told me. She was protecting him. What did he look like? White guy, 50s, gray hair, expensive suit. He looked nervous, like he was afraid of being seen. Derek nodded slowly. If there's a whistleblower inside the Ashford organization, he might still have information. Information that could finish what your wife started. But I don't know who he is. I don't know how to find him. Leave that to me. Derek stood up. I need to make some calls, set up surveillance, reach out to contacts. Surveillance on who? The Ashfords, their security, their operations. I need to know what we're dealing with before we make any moves. And what do I do? Derek looked at him. You stay here. Protect your family. Don't answer the door for anyone you don't know. Don't talk to anyone outside this apartment. I can't just sit here and do nothing. You're not doing nothing. You're being a father. That's the most important job right now. Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew Derek was right. Jalen needed him. Martha needed him. Running off to play hero would only put them in more danger. What if the Ashfords come here? They won't, not yet. They're bullies, not soldiers. They operate through proxies, lawyers, administrators, corrupt cops. Direct confrontation isn't their style. But eventually, yes, that's why we need to move fast. Derek headed for the door, then stopped. One more thing. Does the name Sarah Mitchell mean anything to you? Dr. Mitchell? She was Jalen's oncologist. She got reassigned yesterday. Reassigned or punished? Punished for trying to help us. Derek nodded. I'm going to find her. She might know more than she's told you. Be careful. The Ashfords have eyes everywhere. So do I. Derek opened the door. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me or Rodriguez. How will I know it's Rodriguez? He'll say, the sun rises in the west. It's a code we used overseas. The sun rises in the west. Got it. Derek left, and Marcus locked the door behind him. He stood there for a moment, his forehead pressed against the wood, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. Yesterday he was a waiter. Today he was a target. Yesterday he was alone. Today he had allies. It wasn't much, but it was something. Daddy! Jalen's voice came from the kitchen. Shadow ate one of my cookies! Despite everything, Marcus smiled. The next few hours passed slowly. Marcus tried to act normal for Jalen's sake, playing trucks, watching Spider-Man, pretending the world wasn't falling apart around them. Martha kept glancing at the windows, at the door, her hands never quite still. Shadow stayed close to Jalen, following him from room to room, lying at his feet whenever he sat down. The dog seemed to understand that this small boy needed protection, and he took the job seriously. Around 9 o'clock, Jalen's energy finally faded. Marcus carried him to bed, tucking the covers around his thin body, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Daddy, is the big dog going to stay?" "For a while, buddy." "Good. I like him." Jalen's eyes were already closing. "Daddy, are we safe?" Marcus felt his heart crack. "Yeah, baby, we're safe." "Promise?" "Promise." Jalen was asleep within minutes. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching his son breathe. This small miracle he would do anything to protect. Shadow appeared at his side, pressing his massive head against Marcus's leg. "You'll watch him, won't you?" The dog's eyes met his, intelligent and knowing. Then Shadow padded into the room and lay down beside Jalen's bed, his head resting on his paws, his ears alert to every sound. Marcus closed the door softly and went to the living room where Martha was waiting. "What happens now?" she asked. "We wait. Derek is gathering information. When he has enough, we make our move." "Our move against the Ashfords?" Martha shook her head. "Marcus, do you understand what you're doing? These people have destroyed everyone who's ever challenged them. Politicians, journalists, police officers. Your wife." "I know." "And you still want to fight them?" "I don't have a choice." Marcus sat down beside her. "They're going to kill Jalen, Martha. Not with guns or knives, but by denying him treatment. By making sure no hospital in this state will touch him. They're going to watch him die slowly, and they're going to enjoy every minute of it." Martha's eyes filled with tears. "I can't lose him too. I can't." "You won't. I won't let that happen." "How? How can you stop people like that?" "By fighting back. By not giving up. By making them understand that some people can't be bought or scared or silenced." Marcus took her hands. Denise tried to bring them down and failed, but she got close. She got closer than anyone. And now we have the chance to finish what she started. At what cost? Whatever it takes. Martha was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed his hands. "Your wife would be proud of you." "I hope so." "She is. I know she is." They sat in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on them. But there was something else, too. Something Marcus hadn't felt in 2 years. Purpose. Around midnight, Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello?" "It's Derek. I found Dr. Mitchell." "Where is she?" "A motel outside of town. She's hiding. The Ashfords put pressure on her employer. Not just reassigned. Fired. They're threatening her medical license. She's scared, but she's talking." "What did she say?" "She said your wife visited her the week before the accident. Asked her to keep certain medical records safe. Records that document what the Ashfords have been doing to patients who cross them." "Does she still have them?" "Hidden. Somewhere secure. She won't tell me where until she meets you." "Me? Why me?" "She says she made a promise to Denise, that if anything happened, she would only give the records to you." Marcus's heart was pounding. "Where do I meet her?" "I'll send you an address. Come alone. She's paranoid, rightfully so. If she sees anyone else, she'll run." "What about Jalen? Martha?" "Rodriguez arrived an hour ago. He's in a van outside your building. He'll watch the apartment while you're gone." "I didn't see any van." "You're not supposed to." Derek paused. "Marcus, this is the break we needed. If Dr. Mitchell has what she says she has, we can bring down the whole Ashford empire. I'm on my way." Marcus hung up and turned to Martha, who had heard everything. "Go," she said before he could speak. "I'll watch Jalen." "Are you sure?" "Denise trusted this woman enough to give her something important. We need to find out what it is." Martha's jaw was set, her eyes fierce. "Go, Marcus. Finish what my daughter started." He kissed her cheek, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Shadow raised his head as Marcus passed, but didn't follow. The dog understood his orders. The address Derek sent led to a rundown motel 20 miles outside of Riverside. The kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be found. Marcus parked in the back lot, checking his mirrors for any sign of pursuit. Nothing. Just darkness and silence. Room 14 was at the end of the building. Marcus knocked twice. Waited. Knocked 3 more times. The code Derek had given him. The door opened a crack, and a woman's face appeared. Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair unwashed, her whole body vibrating with fear. "Marcus Thompson?" "Yeah, Derek sent me." She opened the door wider, and Marcus stepped inside. The room was small, cluttered with papers and fast food wrappers. It smelled like coffee and desperation. "Thank you for coming." Sarah closed the door and locked it, then checked the window. "I wasn't sure you would. You knew my wife?" "I treated her once, after a previous accident." Sarah's voice was bitter. "The Ashfords like to send warnings before they send killers. Denise came to me with broken ribs and a concussion. She said she fell down the stairs. I knew she was lying. She knew I knew." "Why didn't you report it?" "To who? The police work for the Ashfords. The hospital administration works for the Ashfords. Everyone in this town works for them, one way or another." Sarah sat down on the bed, her hands shaking. "But Denise was different. She wasn't afraid. Even after they hurt her, she kept digging. She said she was going to expose them, no matter what it cost." "And you helped her?" "I kept records. Every patient the Ashfords targeted. Every treatment that was mysteriously denied. Every death that shouldn't have happened." Sarah looked at him. "Your wife compiled it all into a file. Names, dates, evidence. Enough to bring down not just the Ashfords, but everyone who enabled them." "Where is this file?" Sarah stood up and went to the closet. She pulled out a battered laptop bag and handed it to Marcus. "Denise gave this to me the day before she died. She said if anything happened to her, I should wait. Wait until someone came looking. Someone who couldn't be bought." Marcus unzipped the bag. Inside was a laptop, several external hard drives, and a thick folder of documents. "This is everything?" "Everything Denise collected, plus my own records." Sarah's voice cracked. "I've been keeping this hidden for 2 years, living with the guilt of not doing anything, watching the Ashfords destroy more lives while I stayed silent." "Why didn't you come forward?" "Because I was scared. Because I have a daughter of my own. Because I saw what happened to people who crossed them." Sarah wiped her eyes. "But then I heard about what they did to you. What they're doing to your son, and I couldn't stay silent anymore." Marcus clutched the bag to his chest. "This can really bring them down? If it gets to the right people. The FBI, federal prosecutors, someone outside the Ashfords' reach." Sarah grabbed his arm. "But you have to be careful. They have spies everywhere. If they find out you have this..." "I know." "Do you? Because Denise thought she was careful too. And look what happened to her." Marcus met her eyes. "I have something Denise didn't have." "What's that?" "I have nothing left to lose." Sarah studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "There's something else you should know. Your wife wasn't just investigating money laundering. She found connections between the Ashfords and the Mendoza cartel. Drug trafficking, human trafficking, murder for hire." "Murder for hire?" "The Ashfords don't just eliminate their enemies through accidents. They have people killed on contract. Denise found invoices, payments to cartel hitmen for specific targets." Sarah's voice dropped. "Your wife's accident wasn't random. It was ordered, paid for, documented." The room seemed to spin. Marcus had always suspected But hearing it confirmed, knowing that someone had paid money to kill Denise. Who ordered it? Richard Ashford himself. The payment is in those files. $50,000. That's what your wife's life was worth to them. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. $50,000. Less than the cost of Victoria's shoes. I'm sorry, Sarah's voice was gentle. I know this is hard to hear. Hard? Marcus laughed bitterly. My wife was murdered for $50,000. My son is being denied cancer treatment because I embarrassed a rich woman. And you're worried about hard? Marcus. No, don't apologize. Don't comfort me. He stood up, the laptop bag clutched in his hands. Just tell me one thing. How do I make them pay? You get that evidence to people who can act on it. Federal authorities, independent investigators, anyone outside the Ashfords' influence. And then you pray. Because once you start this, there's no turning back. They will come for you with everything they have. Marcus thought about Jalen, about Martha, about the life he was about to destroy in order to save it. Let them come. He turned toward the door. Marcus, wait! Sarah grabbed a piece of paper from the desk. There's one more thing. A name. Someone inside the Ashford organization who was helping Denise. A whistleblower. The man in the coffee shop? His name is James Crawford. He's the Ashfords' chief financial officer. He knows everything, every transaction, every shell company, every buddy they've buried. He was going to testify, but after Denise died, he disappeared, went into hiding. Do you know where he is? No. But if you can find him, he can provide testimony that would make the evidence in that laptop bulletproof. Marcus took the paper. James Crawford, CFO. Be careful. If the Ashfords know you're looking for him, they'll kill you both. They've already tried to kill my son. What else can they do? Sarah had no answer for that. Marcus left the motel and drove back toward Riverside, the laptop bag on the seat beside him. His mind was racing, processing everything he'd learned. His wife was murdered, documented, paid for. The evidence was in his hands. Everything needed to bring down the Ashford empire. And somewhere out there was James Crawford, the key to everything. His phone rang. Derek. I got it. The files? Everything. Denise's research, Dr. Mitchell's records, connections to the cartel, payment records for contract killings. Derek, they paid $50,000 to have my wife murdered. Silence on the other end. Then, we'll make them pay more than that. Much more. There's something else. A whistleblower. James Crawford, the Ashfords' CFO. He was working with Denise. He went into hiding after she died. I know that name. Rodriguez flagged him in his research. Crawford dropped off the grid 2 years ago. No credit card activity, no phone records, nothing. Can you find him? If he's alive, I can find him. But it'll take time. We don't have time. The Ashfords know I'm coming for them. They'll escalate. Then we need to buy ourselves some room. Derek's voice was thoughtful. How do you feel about making Victoria Ashford's life very uncomfortable? What do you mean? I mean the best defense is a good offense. Right now, the Ashfords think they're in control. They think you're just a waiter they can crush whenever they want. Let's show them how wrong they are. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. What did you have in mind? Come to these coordinates. Rodriguez has something to show you. The address led to a warehouse on the outskirts of town. Derek was waiting outside with Shadow, and beside him stood a shorter man with watchful eyes. Rodriguez. Mr. Thompson, Rodriguez shook his hand. I've heard a lot about you. Likewise, Derek says you're the best. I'm adequate. Rodriguez led them inside. but I have very good tools. The warehouse had been converted into a command center. Computers lined one wall, displaying satellite imagery, financial records, security camera feeds. It looked like something out of a military operation. Is this legal? Marcus asked. Define legal. Rodriguez sat down at a console. I've been digging into the Ashfords all day. What I found is worse than we thought. Worse how? Rodriguez pulled up a series of documents. The Ashford Foundation doesn't just launder money. It's a hub for cartel operations across 3 states. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking. The Ashfords take a cut of everything. How much are we talking? Conservative estimate? They've processed over $200 million in the past decade. Marcus stared at the screen. 200 million. And that's just what I can trace. The real number is probably higher. Derek leaned over Rodriguez's shoulder. What about the cartel connection? The Mendoza cartel, based in Mexico, but with operations throughout the American Southwest. Rodriguez pulled up another file. The Ashfords provide financial services, laundering, banking, asset protection. In exchange, the cartel provides muscle when needed. Muscle? Enforcers, hitmen. Rodriguez's voice was flat. When someone becomes a problem for the Ashfords, they make a call. The problem disappears. Like Denise. And at least 6 others that I can confirm. Rodriguez turned to face Marcus. Your wife wasn't just investigating money laundering. She was building a case against one of the most dangerous criminal networks in the country. She got further than anyone before her. And they killed her for it. They tried to erase her completely. Took her laptop, her notes, everything they could find. What they didn't know was that she had backups, that she had given copies to people she trusted. Marcus thought about Dr. Mitchell, hiding in a motel, waiting 2 years to hand over the evidence. She was smarter than they knew. Much smarter. Rodriguez smiled grimly. And now we have everything she collected, plus what I've been able to dig up independently. We have enough to bring down the Ashfords. But we need a way to get it to the right people. Federal authorities, prosecutors who aren't compromised. Rodriguez shook his head. The Ashfords have connections everywhere. If we go through normal channels, the evidence will disappear, just like your wife's laptop. Derek spoke up. That's why we need James Crawford. The whistleblower? He's not just a whistleblower. He's a witness. He has first-hand knowledge of every illegal transaction the Ashfords have made for the past 15 years. With his testimony, the evidence becomes airtight. Can you find him? I'm working on it, but he's hidden himself well. Could take days. Days we don't have. Derek nodded. Which brings us back to my original suggestion. We need to put the Ashfords on the defensive. Make them react instead of act. How? Derek smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. By hitting them where it hurts the most. Their reputation. Over the next hour, Derek outlined his plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and possibly insane. Marcus loved it. You really think this will work? I think it'll make them angry. And angry people make mistakes. Marcus looked at the screens, at the evidence of crimes spanning decades, at the faces of the people who had destroyed his family. Let's make them angry. Derek clapped him on the shoulder. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start fighting back. Marcus drove home as the sun began to rise. He was exhausted, wired, terrified, and more alive than he had felt in years. The laptop bag was hidden in the warehouse, protected by Rodriguez's security. The plan was in motion. The pieces were falling into place. But as he pulled into his parking spot, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The black sedan was back. And this time, There were two more beside it. The Ashfords had found him. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. Marcus sat frozen in his car, his hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. 3 black sedans. 6 men in dark suits standing on the sidewalk, watching his building. Waiting. His phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. "I see them. Don't panic. I'm in the blue van across the street. On my signal, get out of your car and walk normally. They won't make a move in public." Marcus typed back. "What about Jalen? Martha?" "Derek is inside. He went up the fire escape an hour ago. Your family is safe." Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Derek was inside. Shadow was with Jalen. They were protected. Another text. "Now, walk." Marcus got out of the car and forced himself to move at a normal pace. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to fight, to do something. But Rodriguez was right. The Ashfords operated through intimidation, not violence. At least, not in broad daylight. One of the men stepped forward as Marcus approached the building entrance. "Mr. Thompson." Marcus stopped. "Do I know you?" "My name is Vincent Cole. I work for the Ashford family." The man's voice was smooth, professional, like a lawyer delivering bad news. "Mr. Ashford would like to have a conversation with you." "Which Mr. Ashford?" "Richard Ashford, the patriarch." "And if I don't want to have a conversation?" Vincent smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Ashford is a reasonable man. He believes this unfortunate situation can be resolved without further complications. Complications like my son dying because you canceled his treatment? That was a misunderstanding. Administrative error. It's already being corrected. Marcus stared at him. Just like that? Mr. Ashford is prepared to be generous. Your son's treatment will resume immediately. All expenses covered. Additionally, he's prepared to offer you a substantial severance package from your former position at the club. Enough to ensure your family's comfort for years to come. In exchange for what? A conversation. That's all. Just a conversation. Marcus thought about the laptop hidden in Rodriguez's warehouse, about the evidence that could destroy the Ashford empire, about Denise. Tell Mr. Ashford, I'll think about it. Vincent's smile faltered. I'd strongly encourage you to think quickly. Mr. Ashford's generosity has limits. So does my patience. Marcus pushed past him and walked into the building. He could feel the men's eyes on his back, but none of them followed. Not yet. Derek was waiting in the apartment, Shadow at his side. Martha was in the kitchen with Jalen, trying to act normal despite the fear in her eyes. You saw them? Derek asked. Hard to miss. They offered me a deal. Jalen's treatment restored, plus money, in exchange for a conversation with Richard Ashford. They're scared. Scared? They have 6 men outside my building. Exactly. Derek's voice was calm. If they weren't scared, they'd just take what they want. Instead, they're negotiating. That means they know something has changed. Do they know about the files? Probably not. But they know you met with Dr. Mitchell. They know you're not just rolling over. That makes you dangerous. Marcus sank into a chair. So what do? We use this. They want a conversation? We give them one. But on our terms. What do you mean? I mean we accept the meeting, but not at their location. Somewhere public. Somewhere they can't control. They'll never agree to that. They will if they're desperate enough. Derek pulled out his phone. I've been monitoring their communications. The Ashfords have a problem. A big one. What kind of problem? The cartel is getting nervous. The Mendoza family has heard rumors that someone is digging into the Ashford operation. They're threatening to pull out unless Richard can guarantee security. Rodriguez is digging? And yours, and the meeting with Dr. Mitchell. Derek smiled. The Ashfords are fighting a war on two fronts. They need to shut you down fast, before the cartel decides they're too much of a liability. What happens if the cartel pulls out? The Ashfords lose their protection, their muscle, their ability to make problems disappear. Derek leaned forward. That's when they become vulnerable. That's when we strike. Marcus looked at his son, visible through the kitchen doorway, eating cereal and chattering to Martha about Spider-Man. Innocent, unaware, living in a world where his father was playing games with murderers. If I meet with Richard Ashford, what stops him from just killing me? I do. Derek's voice was flat. You won't be alone. Chen and Williams are arriving tonight. By tomorrow, we'll have a full team on the ground. More of your military friends? Brothers. We served together for 12 years. There's nothing they wouldn't do for me. And nothing I wouldn't do for them. Why are you doing this? The question had been burning in Marcus since the beginning. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why risk your life for a stranger? Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. When I was in Afghanistan, we lost a village. Whole place wiped out by a warlord because they gave us information. Men, women, children, all dead because they helped us. I'm sorry. I couldn't save them, couldn't get there in time. But before we extracted, I found a boy hiding in a cellar, maybe 8 years old, lost everyone he had. What happened to him? I got him out, got him to a refugee program, kept track of him over the years. Derek's eyes were distant. He's in college now, studying to be a doctor. Says he wants to save lives because someone saved his. That's amazing. It's one kid, one life, out of hundreds I couldn't save. Derek looked at Marcus. But it matters. Every single one matters. Your son matters. Your wife mattered. And the Ashfords need to learn that you can't just destroy people and walk away. Marcus didn't know what to say. He had spent 2 years feeling alone, feeling powerless, feeling like no one cared about what happened to his family. He had been wrong. Thank you, he finally managed, for everything. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won anything. But we're going to, right? Derek's jaw tightened. Yeah, we're going to. The rest of the day passed in tense preparation. Chen and Williams arrived around midnight, slipping into the building through routes that avoided the Ashford surveillance. They were both in their 40s, hardened by years of combat, with the quiet confidence of men who had faced worse than small-town criminals. So this is the guy. Chen looked Marcus up and down. The waiter who pissed off a billionaire. I didn't piss her off. She pissed herself off by being a monster. Fair enough, Chen grinned. I like him. Williams was quieter, more reserved. He spent most of the evening studying the building's layout, identifying entry points and exit routes, preparing for scenarios Marcus didn't want to think about. We've got surveillance on all their positions, Rodriguez reported, his laptop showing multiple camera feeds. 6 men outside, rotating shifts. 2 more in a car down the block. They're definitely expecting something. They're not going to wait forever, Derek said. We need to make our move, tomorrow. What's the plan? Marcus accepts the meeting with Richard Ashford. We pick a public location. The plaza downtown works. Plenty of witnesses, multiple escape routes, no way for them to control the environment. And what happens at the meeting? Marcus keeps them talking, gets Richard to admit as much as possible. Meanwhile, Rodriguez works on locating James Crawford. If we can find the whistleblower before the meeting ends, we have everything we need. And if we can't? Derek's expression hardened. Then we improvise. Marcus spent the night on the couch, unable to sleep. Every sound made him jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. He kept thinking about Jalen, about what would happen if something went wrong, about whether he was making the right choice. Around 3 in the morning, he heard footsteps. Jalen appeared in the hallway, his small face worried. "Daddy, why aren't you sleeping?" "Just thinking, buddy. Why are you up?" "I had a bad dream." Jalen climbed onto the couch and snuggled against Marcus. "I dreamed that the bad people came and took you away." Marcus's heart broke. "That's not going to happen." "Promise?" "Promise." "Daddy, why are there bad people in the world?" Marcus thought about Richard Ashford, about Victoria, about the cartel hitmen and the corrupt police and everyone who had looked the other way while his family was destroyed. "I don't know, buddy. I don't know why some people choose to hurt others. But I do know that there are more good people than bad people, and the good people are stronger. They just don't always know it." "Are you a good person, Daddy?" "I try to be." "I think you are." Jalen's eyes were drooping. "The best person." "Thanks, buddy." "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "I love you." "I love you too, Jalen. More than anything." Within minutes, Jalen was asleep against his chest. Marcus held him close, feeling his small heartbeat, remembering all the reasons why he was doing this. Not for revenge, not for justice, for love. Morning came too fast. Marcus dressed carefully, trying to project a confidence he didn't feel. Derek briefed him one final time. "Remember, keep him talking. The longer the meeting lasts, the more time Rodriguez has to find Crawford." "What if Richard figures out what we're doing?" "He won't. He's too arrogant. He thinks he's in control of every situation. That's his weakness." "And Victoria?" "She'll probably be there. Don't let her get under your skin. She wants to provoke you. Don't give her that satisfaction." Marcus nodded. "Anything else?" "Yeah." Derek handed him a small device. "This is a panic button. Press it, and we'll be there in under 2 minutes, no matter what." Marcus pocketed it. "Let's do this." The plaza downtown was busy with morning commuters. Marcus sat at a table near the fountain, trying to look casual, trying to ignore the pounding of his heart. At exactly 9 o'clock, a limousine pulled up. Richard Ashford emerged, followed by Victoria and 2 bodyguards. They crossed the plaza with the easy confidence of people who own the world. "Mr. Thompson." Richard sat across from Marcus. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "You didn't give me much choice." "There's always a choice. You chose wisely." Victoria stood behind her father, her eyes fixed on Marcus with unconcealed hatred. She was wearing sunglasses despite the cloudy weather, probably to hide whatever emotions she couldn't control. "Your offer," Marcus said. "Jalen's treatment restored. Money. What's the catch?" "No catch. I'm a businessman. I believe in fair exchanges." Richard folded his hands on the table. "You have something I want. I have something you want. We trade. Everyone goes home happy. What do I have that you want?" Silence. Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You've been asking questions, meeting with people, stirring up trouble. I want that to stop." "And if it doesn't?" "Then this conversation becomes much less pleasant." Marcus forced himself to stay calm. "Your daughter assaulted me in front of 50 witnesses. Your people canceled my son's cancer treatment. Your family had my wife killed. And you want me to be silent?" Richard's expression didn't change. "I understand you're upset, but you need to understand something too. The world doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on power. I have power. You don't. That's simply how it is." "Is that supposed to scare me?" "It's supposed to educate you." Richard leaned forward. "I've destroyed men far more powerful than you, Mr. Thompson. Politicians, journalists, businessmen. Anyone who threatened my family's interests. They're all gone now. Forgotten. Erased. Like Denise. Your wife was unfortunate. She stuck her nose where it didn't belong. If she had been wiser, she might still be alive. Marcus felt his fists clench under the table. You admit it. You had her killed. I admit nothing. I'm simply observing that actions have consequences. Richard's voice was cold. Your wife's actions had consequences. Your actions will too, unless you accept my generous offer. What exactly is your generous offer? Your son receives the best medical care available, fully funded, for life if necessary. You receive $2 million in compensation for your inconvenience. In exchange, you stop asking questions. You stop meeting with people. You disappear. Disappear where? Anywhere but here. Start a new life. Forget Riverside. Forget the Ashfords. Forget that you murdered my wife, Richard sighed, as if dealing with a particularly slow child. Your wife is dead, Mr. Thompson. Nothing changes that. But your son is alive. He can stay alive, or he can join his mother. The choice is yours. Victoria laughed softly. See, Daddy, I told you he was too stupid to understand. Quiet, Victoria. Richard's voice was sharp. Mr. Thompson is considering his options. Give him time. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Rodriguez. Found him. Crawford is in a cabin 30 miles north. Sending coordinates to Derek. Keep them talking. Marcus's heart jumped. They had found the whistleblower. Now he just needed to stall. $2 million isn't enough. Richard raised an eyebrow. I'm sorry? You heard me. My wife's life, my dignity, my son's suffering. $2 million doesn't cover it. What do you want? $5 million, plus a written confession. Richard laughed. A confession? To what? To everything. The money laundering, the cartel connections, my wife's murder. Marcus leaned forward. I want it in writing, signed, notarized, stored somewhere safe. And why would I do that? Insurance. So you don't decide to have me killed after I take your money. Richard studied him for a long moment. You're either very brave or very stupid, Mr. Thompson. Maybe both. A confession is impossible. You must understand that. Then we have nothing to discuss. Marcus started to stand. Richard's hand shot out and grabbed his arm. Sit down. We're not finished. I think we are. Sit down. There was something in Richard's voice, a crack in the perfect composure. Fear. Marcus sat, but slowly, making it clear it was his choice. $3 million, Richard said, and I'll ensure your son's treatment continues for the rest of his life. But no confession. That's my final offer. Not good enough. Don't be a fool. You can't fight me. You have no power, no resources, no... I have evidence. The words hung in the air. Richard's face went pale. Victoria took off her sunglasses, her eyes wide with shock. What evidence? Everything. Financial records, transaction histories, communication logs between you and the Mendoza cartel. Marcus felt a surge of something. Not courage exactly. More like desperation transformed into defiance. My wife collected it all before you killed her. And now I have it. You're bluffing. Am I? Want me to prove it? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Richard a photograph. One of the documents from Denise's files. A bank transfer. $50,000. Labeled Martinez. Final resolution. Richard's face went gray. That's what my wife's life was worth to you. $50,000. Less than Victoria's shoes. Where did you get that? Doesn't matter. What matters is that I have copies, stored in multiple locations, with multiple people. If anything happens to me or my family, everything goes public." Victoria grabbed her father's arm.
Daddy, we need to—
"Shut up." Richard's voice was barely a whisper. His eyes never left Marcus. "What do you want?" "Justice. Be specific. I want you to turn yourself in. Confess to everything. Money laundering, racketeering, murder, all of it." Richard laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're insane." "Maybe, but I'm also holding all the cards." "You think you're holding the cards?" Richard's composure was cracking. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. The Mendoza cartel doesn't negotiate. They eliminate problems. If they think I'm compromised, they won't just come for me. They'll come for everyone. You, your son, everyone you've ever known." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you got into bed with them." "You self-righteous fool." Richard stood up abruptly. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're nothing. A waiter with a grudge. I could have you killed right now, right here, and no one would do anything about it." "Try it." Marcus stood too, facing him. "Your men are 30 feet away. My people are closer." "Your people?" On cue, Derek emerged from behind a nearby pillar. Chen appeared at the north entrance, Williams at the south. Shadow materialized beside Derek, his hackles raised, his eyes locked on Richard. "Meet my friends," Marcus said. "Navy SEALs, combat veterans. They've fought terrorists and warlords. You think your hired thugs scare them?" Richard's bodyguards moved forward, but stopped when they saw the opposition. 4 men, 1 massive dog, positioned in a classic tactical formation. Professional. Deadly. "This is insane," Victoria hissed. "Daddy, we need to leave." "Not yet." Richard's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "This isn't over, Thompson. You've made a very powerful enemy today." "I've had powerful enemies before. They killed my wife. They're trying to kill my son. You think there's anything you can threaten me with that's worse than that?" Richard had no answer. "Here's how this is going to work," Marcus continued. "You're going to leave. You're going to restore my son's treatment immediately. And you're going to pray that I decide not to release everything I have to the FBI, the DEA, and every major news outlet in the country. And if I refuse, then by tomorrow morning, your name will be on the front page of every newspaper in America, along with your cartel friends, along with every dirty cop and politician you've bought, along with the invoice for my wife's murder." Richard stared at him, and for the first time Marcus saw something he'd never expected to see in those cold eyes. Fear. "This isn't over," Richard said again, but his voice had lost its power. "No," Marcus agreed. "It's not. But the next move is mine. Remember that." Richard turned and walked away, Victoria scurrying after him. The bodyguards followed, casting nervous glances at Derek and his team. When they were gone, Marcus's legs nearly gave out. Derek caught him. "You did good." "I thought I was going to throw up." "That's normal," Derek grinned. "But you held it together. That's what matters." "Did Rodriguez find Crawford?" "He did. Chen and Williams are heading there now. By tonight, we'll have everything we need." Marcus looked at the spot where Richard Ashford had been standing. The most powerful man in Riverside, brought low by a waiter and a promise. "Denise," he whispered, "we're almost there, baby. We're almost there." But even as he said the words, he knew the hardest part was still to come. Richard Ashford wasn't the type to surrender quietly, and the Mendoza cartel had never lost a war. The real battle was just beginning. The drive to the cabin took 3 hours. Derek pushed his truck hard through winding mountain roads, Shadow alert in the back seat, his ears tracking every sound. Marcus sat in the passenger seat, his mind racing through everything that had happened and everything that was about to happen. "You're quiet," Derek said. "Thinking. About? About what happens if this doesn't work. If Crawford can't help us. If the Ashfords get to him first. Chen and Williams are already there. They'll secure him. And if the cartel shows up?" Derek's jaw tightened. "Then we deal with them." "You say that like it's simple." "It's not simple, but it's necessary." Derek glanced at him. "You scared?" "Terrified." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp. It's the people who aren't scared that make mistakes." Marcus's phone buzzed. Rodriguez. "Status?" "Chen and Williams have eyes on the cabin. Crawford is inside, alone. No signs of hostile activity." "What about the Ashfords?" "Their people are scrambling. Richard made about a dozen calls after your meeting. Most of them to lawyers. A few to numbers I couldn't trace." "Cartel numbers?" "Probably. They're panicking, Marcus. You rattled them. That doesn't make me feel better." "It should. Scared people make mistakes. And Richard Ashford just made the biggest mistake of his life." "What mistake?" "He reached out to the Mendozas for help. Told them about your evidence. Asked them to eliminate the threat." Marcus's blood went cold. "They're sending people? Already on the way. That's why we need to move fast." Derek heard the conversation through the truck speakers. His foot pressed harder on the accelerator. "How much time do we have?" "Maybe 2 hours. Maybe less. Then we'll be there in 1. They made it in 47 minutes. The cabin was small, isolated, surrounded by dense forest. Chen met them at the tree line, his face grim. "Crawford's inside. He's scared. Won't open the door." "Did you tell him why we're here?" "Told him we were friends of Denise Thompson. That got his attention, but he still won't come out." Derek turned to Marcus. "You need to talk to him. He knew your wife. He'll trust you." Marcus approached the cabin alone. His footsteps on the wooden porch sounded impossibly loud. He knocked. "Mr. Crawford, my name is Marcus Thompson. I was Denise's husband." Silence. "She told me about you. Said you were brave. Said you wanted to do the right thing." More silence. Then a voice, muffled by the door. "How do I know you're really him?" Denise had a birthmark on her left shoulder, shaped like a crescent moon. She was embarrassed by it, but I told her it looked like she'd been kissed by the night sky. A long pause. Then the sound of locks clicking. The door opened a crack, revealing a gaunt face with hollow eyes. James Crawford looked like he hadn't slept in months. "You're really Marcus?" "I'm really Marcus." "She talked about you. Said you were the best man she'd ever known." Crawford's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. About everything. I wanted to help her, but I was too scared. And then she was gone, and I—" "It's okay. You're going to help her now." "How?" "By testifying. By telling the world what the Ashfords have done." Marcus stepped closer. "We have evidence, Mr. Crawford. Everything Denise collected. But we need your testimony to make it stick. We need someone who was inside." Crawford's face twisted with fear. "They'll kill me. You don't understand what these people are capable of." "I understand exactly what they're capable of. They murdered my wife. They're trying to murder my son. But we can stop them. Together." "You can't stop the Ashfords. Nobody can." "That's what they want you to believe." Marcus reached out and gripped Crawford's arm. "But it's not true. They're scared right now, Mr. Crawford. I saw it in Richard's face. They know their empire is crumbling. They know the truth is coming out. And they're terrified." Crawford stared at him, hope and fear battling in his eyes. "If I testify, will you protect me?" "With everything we have." "And my family? My daughter?" "We'll protect them too." Crawford closed his eyes, For a moment, Marcus thought he was going to refuse. Then he opened them, and something had changed. The fear was still there, but underneath it was something stronger. Resolve. "Okay," Crawford said. "I'll do it." They were loading Crawford into Derek's truck when Rodriguez's voice crackled through the radio. "We've got company. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, moving fast." Derek grabbed his rifle. "How many?" "Count 5 vehicles, at least 20 men." "Cartel?" "Looks like it. They're armed, heavily." Marcus felt his stomach drop. 20 men against 5 of us? 4, Derek's voice was calm. "You're getting Crawford out of here. Chen will drive." "I'm not leaving you. You're not fighting either. Your job is to protect the witness. Get him to Rodriguez's location. He'll have FBI contacts waiting." "Derek, this isn't a discussion." Derek grabbed Marcus by the shoulders. "Your son needs you alive. Denise needs you to finish what she started. Crawford needs you to get him to safety. That's your mission. Stick to it." Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew Derek was right. He wasn't a soldier. He'd be a liability in a firefight. "What about you?" "I've been in worse situations," Derek smiled grimly. "Besides, I've got Shadow. And Williams. We'll hold them off long enough for you to get clear." "And then what?" "Then we disappear. Regroup. Hit them again when they're not expecting it." The sound of engines grew louder. They were out of time. "Go!" Derek pushed in toward the truck. "Now!" Marcus climbed in beside Crawford. Chen was already behind the wheel, the engine running. "We'll take the back roads," Chen said. "Longer but safer. Rodriguez will guide us." The truck lurched forward, heading into the forest. Through the rear window, Marcus watched Derek, Williams, and Shadow take up positions. 3 men and a dog against 20 armed killers. He forced himself to look away. Crawford was shaking beside him. "They found me. After 2 years of hiding, they found me." "We all found you. That's what matters." "You don't understand. The Mendozas don't leave witnesses. They'll hunt us until—" "They won't hunt us if they're all dead or in prison." Marcus grabbed Crawford's hand. "Focus. Tell me everything you know. Everything that can help us put these people away." Crawford started talking. The words poured out like water from a broken dam. 15 years of secrets, crimes, atrocities. Bank accounts in the Caymans. Shell companies in Panama. Payments to politicians, judges, police chiefs. Names, dates, amounts. And the murders. "Denise wasn't the first," Crawford said, his voice hollow. "There were others. People who got too close. People who asked too many questions. Richard has a list. He calls it his insurance policy. Everyone who's ever been a threat to the family." "How many names?" 47, last time I counted. 47 people. 47 lives destroyed to protect the Ashford Empire. And the cartel? The Mendozas use the Ashfords to clean their money. Billions of dollars over the past decade. In exchange, the Ashfords get protection, muscle, the ability to make problems disappear. Like Denise. Like Denise. Crawford's eyes filled with tears. "I tried to warn her, told her she was getting too close, but she wouldn't stop. She said some things were worth dying for." Marcus thought about his wife, her courage, her determination, her refusal to back down even when she knew the danger. "She was right," he said quietly. "Some things are." The radio crackled. Rodriguez's voice, tense. "Chen, you've got a tail. 2 vehicles, about a mile behind you." Chen checked the mirror. "I see them. Can you slow them down?" "I'm working on it." "There's a bridge about 3 miles ahead. If you can get across before they catch up, I can disable it remotely." "Disable it how?" "Don't ask questions you don't want answers to." Chen pushed the truck harder. The forest blurred past, the road twisting and turning through the mountains. Marcus gripped the door handle, his knuckles white. How far to the bridge? 2 miles, maybe less. The vehicles behind them were gaining. Marcus could see them now, black SUVs with tinted windows, moving with a relentless purpose of predators closing in on prey. They're getting closer. I know. Chen's voice was tight. Hold on. He yanked the wheel, taking a corner so fast the truck nearly tipped. Crawford screamed. Marcus braced himself against the dashboard. 1 mile, Rodriguez said through the radio. You're almost there. The bridge appeared ahead, a narrow span over a deep ravine. Chen didn't slow down. The truck hit the bridge at full speed, the tires screaming on the metal surface. We're across, Chen reported. Do it. Doing it. Behind them, there was a sound like thunder. Marcus turned to look. The bridge was collapsing, steel and concrete tumbling into the ravine, taking the first SUV with it. The second SUV skidded to a stop at the edge, its occupants spilling out to stare at the destruction. Bridge is down, Rodriguez confirmed. They won't be following you that way, but there are other routes. Keep moving. Chen didn't need to be told twice. They drove for another hour, taking back roads and forest trails that didn't appear on any map. Finally, Rodriguez directed them to a warehouse on the outskirts of Portland. FBI agents were waiting. Mr. Thompson? A woman in a dark suit stepped forward. I'm Agent Maria Santos. I've been investigating the Ashford family for 3 years. Rodriguez tells me you have something for me. We have everything. Marcus gestured to Crawford. And we have a witness. Santos looked at Crawford with something like reverence. James Crawford, we thought you were dead. I might as well have been. Crawford's voice was exhausted. But I'm ready to talk now. I'm ready to tell you everything. Then let's get started. The next several hours were a blur of interviews, statements, and documentation. Crawford talked. Marcus talked. The evidence from Denise's files was cataloged and verified. Agent Santos's team worked with methodical precision, building a case that would bring down not just the Ashfords, but everyone connected to them. Around midnight, Santos found Marcus in the hallway, staring at nothing. You should get some sleep. Can't. Too wired. I understand. She sat beside him. Your wife was remarkable, you know. We had our eye on her investigation. We were about to reach out, offer her protection. And then she was killed. Yes, Santos's voice was heavy with regret. If we had moved faster, she might still be alive. I'm sorry. It wasn't your fault. Maybe not, but I've carried that guilt for 2 years. She looked at him. What you've done today, Marcus, finishing what she started, it matters. It matters more than you know. Will it be enough to put them away? More than enough. With Crawford's testimony and the evidence you've provided, we're looking at RICO charges, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. Richard Ashford will spend the rest of his life in prison. So will Victoria. And the cartel? We're coordinating with DEA and Mexican authorities. The Mendozas won't escape either. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Relief. Exhaustion. Grief for all the years he'd lost, all the battles he'd fought alone. What about my son? His treatment? Already being handled. We have federal marshals at the hospital ensuring no one interferes with Jalen's care. He's safe, Marcus. He's going to be okay. Marcus closed his eyes. For the first time in 2 years, he allowed himself to believe it. His phone rang. Derek. You made it. We made it. What about you? Williams took a bullet, grazed his shoulder. He's complaining about how it ruined his favorite jacket, so I think he'll live. And the cartel? Most of them won't be bothering anyone again. The rest ran when they realized they were outmatched. Derek paused. It's over, Marcus. The Ashfords are finished. Not yet. Not until they're in handcuffs. That's coming. Santos is good. She'll nail them. Derek, thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. We still need to celebrate. I'm thinking barbecue. My treat. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. Deal. He hung up and turned to find Agent Santos watching him. Commander Williams and his team? Safe, mostly. Good. She stood. Get some rest, Marcus. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. The arrests will be coordinated.
Media will be everywhere, and you'll need to be ready to tell your story. My story? The world deserves to know what the Ashfords did, and what it took to stop them. Santos smiled slightly. You're about to become very famous, Mr. Thompson. I don't want fame. I just want my son to be healthy, and my wife's memory to be honored. Then that's exactly what you'll get. The arrests happened at dawn. FBI agents descended on the Ashford estate, the country club, Victoria's penthouse, Richard's offices. Camera crews captured everything, the images broadcast live across the country. Richard Ashford was let out in handcuffs, his face gray, his composure finally shattered. He didn't speak to reporters. He didn't make eye contact with anyone. He just walked, shoulders slumped, toward the waiting vehicle. Victoria was less dignified. She screamed, fought, cursed the agents who restrained her. Marcus watched from a safe distance, remembering the woman who had ground her heel into his fingers, who had laughed while he bled, who had called him furniture with legs. Servants need to learn their place, he murmured. Looks like you're learning yours. Sheriff Wade Patterson was arrested at his home, still in his pajamas. Dr. Williams from the hospital. 3 city council members. The district attorney. One by one, the dominoes fell. By noon, it was over. Agent Santos held a press conference, outlining the charges, the evidence, the scope of the criminal enterprise that had controlled Riverside for 40 years. She mentioned Denise Thompson by name, calling her a hero who had given her life to expose the truth. Marcus watched from the back of the room, tears streaming down his face. "She did it," he whispered. "Denise, you did it." Afterward, he drove to the hospital to see Jalen. Martha was there, looking 10 years younger than she had a week ago. Did you see the news?
I saw. She hugged him tight. I saw everything. Where's Jalen? With Dr. Mitchell. She came back as soon as she heard. Said wild horses couldn't keep her away. Marcus found his son in the children's ward, surrounded by nurses who were treating him like a celebrity. Jalen's face lit up when he saw his father. "Daddy, everyone says you're a hero." "I'm not a hero, buddy." "Yes, you are. You caught the bad guys, like Spider-Man." Marcus scooped him up, holding him close, breathing in the smell of his son, feeling his heart beat strong and steady. "How are you feeling, little man?" "Good. The medicine is working. Dr. Mitchell says I'm going to be okay." "Yeah, buddy. You're going to be okay. We're all going to be okay." Dr. Mitchell appeared in the doorway, her eyes red, but her smile genuine. "Marcus, I heard what happened. What you did." "I couldn't have done it without you. The files you kept, the risks you took. I made a promise to Denise. I always keep my promises." She knelt beside Jalen. "And I made a promise to this little guy, too, that I would see him through to the other side." "Can you keep that promise?" His latest scans are encouraging. The cancer is responding to treatment. If everything continues like this, she looked at Marcus with shining eyes. There's a very good chance of full remission. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. 2 years of terror, of watching his son fade, of wondering if each day would be the last. And now hope. Real hope. "Thank you," he managed. "Thank you." That evening, they gathered at Martha's house. Derek, Rodriguez, Chen, Williams with his bandaged shoulder, Shadow lying contentedly at Jalen's feet. Dr. Mitchell, Agent Santos, Tom Henderson from the country club, Gloria, who had brought enough food to feed an army. They ate, they talked, they laughed. For the first time in years, the house felt alive with joy instead of fear. Derek raised his glass. "To Denise Thompson, who started this fight." "To Denise," everyone echoed. "And to Marcus," Derek continued, "who finished it." Marcus shook his head. "I didn't finish it alone. I had help. More help than I ever expected." "That's how it works," Martha said quietly. "When good people stand together, evil doesn't stand a chance." Jalen tugged at Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, can Shadow stay with us forever?" Derek smiled. "What do you think, Shadow? Want to stick around?" The dog's tail wagged. He pressed closer to Jalen, his eyes never leaving the boy's face. "I think that's a yes," Derek said. "Really?" Jalen's eyes were wide. "He can stay?" "He can stay. But he's still my partner, so I'll be around a lot too. If that's okay." "It's okay!" Jalen threw his arms around Shadow's neck. "Did you hear that, boy? You're staying!" Shadow barked once, a sound that might have been joy. Marcus watched his son, this miracle, this reason for everything. He thought about Denise, about how proud she would be, about how much she was missing. But she wasn't really missing it. She was here, in this room, in these people, in the justice that had finally been served. Her spirit lived on in everyone she had touched. "I love you, Denise," Marcus whispered. "I'll always love you." Through the window, he could see the stars beginning to appear. One of them, the brightest, seemed to pulse with light. He chose to believe it was her, watching over them, finally at peace. The storm had passed, and in its wake, something beautiful was beginning to grow. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Every day, Marcus sat in the courtroom, watching the Ashford empire crumble piece by piece. James Crawford testified for 3 days straight, his voice steady, his memory precise. Bank records were entered into evidence. Wire transfers, emails, the invoice for Denise's murder. Richard Ashford sat at the defense table, his expensive lawyers scrambling to counter evidence that was simply too overwhelming to dismiss. He had aged 20 years in the months since his arrest. The silver hair was now white. The confident posture was broken. The cold eyes were hollow. Victoria sat beside him, her designer clothes replaced by prison orange, her perfect makeup gone. She stared at Marcus with pure hatred every time their eyes met. He stared back without flinching. On the final day of testimony, Marcus took the stand. "Mr. Thompson," the prosecutor said, "can you describe what happened at the Riverside Country Club on the afternoon of July 15th? Marcus looked at the jury. 12 ordinary people. Teachers, plumbers, nurses, retirees. People who had lived their whole lives under the Ashford shadow without knowing it. I was working my shift, serving champagne to members. Victoria Ashford came in with her boyfriend. She ordered drinks. When I brought them, my tray slipped. A few drops of champagne landed on her shoe. What happened next? She grabbed my hand and crushed my fingers under her heel. When I tried to pull away, she knocked me to the ground. She poured champagne over my head and told me to lick it up, like a dog. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The judge called for order. Did anyone intervene? No. Everyone was too afraid. The Ashfords owned that club. They owned the whole town. People had learned that standing up to them meant losing everything. What changed that day? Marcus looked at Derek, sitting in the gallery with Shadow at his feet. Someone walked in who wasn't afraid. Someone who had spent his life fighting evil and wasn't about to stop just because the evil wore expensive suits. And what happened after that? Everything. Marcus's voice was strong now, carrying to every corner of the room. We discovered that the Ashfords weren't just bullies. They were murderers. They were drug traffickers. They were running a criminal empire that had destroyed countless lives, including my wife's. "Objection," one of the defense lawyers called weakly. "Prejudicial." "Overruled. Continue, Mr. Thompson." Marcus looked directly at Richard Ashford. "My wife Denise spent months investigating your family. She found evidence of money laundering, cartel connections, contract killings. She was going to expose everything, and you had her killed for it." Richard's face was stone, but his hands trembled. $50,000. That's what you paid to have my wife murdered? Less than the cost of your daughter's shoes. Less than nothing to people like you. "Mr. Thompson," the prosecutor interrupted gently, "can you tell us about your son?" Marcus's voice softened. "Jalen. He's 7 years old now. He has leukemia. The Ashfords tried to cancel his treatment as punishment for my standing up to Victoria. They wanted to watch my son die slowly, to punish me for embarrassing them. But that didn't happen. No, because good people stepped forward. Because a Navy SEAL named Derek Williams decided that bullies shouldn't win. Because a doctor named Sarah Mitchell kept records when everyone else destroyed them. Because a whistleblower named James Crawford found his courage after hiding for 2 years. Marcus looked at the jury again. The Ashfords thought they were untouchable. They thought their money and their power made them gods. But they were wrong. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how many people you've bought. What matters is whether good people are willing to stand together. No further questions. The defense lawyer rose for cross-examination, but there was nothing he could say. The evidence was too clear. The testimony was too damning. After a few half-hearted attempts to discredit Marcus, he sat down in defeat. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Richard Ashford was sentenced to life without parole. Victoria received 45 years. Sheriff Patterson, the corrupt hospital administrator, the politicians and judges who had enabled the Ashford crimes, all of them faced justice. The Mendoza cartel connection led to international arrests. The FBI coordinated with Mexican authorities to dismantle the entire network. Billions of dollars in assets were seized. Hundreds of criminals were brought to justice. And in Riverside, a town that had lived in fear for 40 years, finally began to breathe. 3 months after the verdict, Marcus stood at Denise's grave. Jalen held his hand, healthier now, stronger, his eyes bright with life. "Hi, Mommy," Jalen said. "I brought you flowers. Daddy helped me pick them." Marcus laid the bouquet on the headstone. White lilies, Denise's favorite. "We did it, baby," he whispered. "Everything you worked for, everything you died for. It finally happened." "Is Mommy happy?" Jalen asked. "Yeah, buddy. I think she's very happy." "Can she see us?" "I believe she can. I believe she's watching over us every single day." Jalen was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up at his father with those big brown eyes. "Daddy, I want to be like you when I grow up." "Like me?" "Yeah, brave, like you and Derek and Shadow. I want to help people who are scared. I want to make the bad people stop." Marcus knelt down to his son's level. "You already help people, Jalen. Every time you smile, every time you laugh, every time you hug someone who's sad. That's how you fight the darkness. With light." "But what about the really bad people? The ones who hurt others?" "Those people exist. and sometimes you have to stand up to them. But the most important thing isn't fighting. It's never giving up. It's believing that good can win, even when everything looks hopeless.
Like you believed? Like I believed? Like your mother believed? Like all the people who helped us believed?
Jalen nodded solemnly. Then he hugged Marcus tight. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, little man. More than anything in the whole world. They stayed at the grave for a while longer, father and son, honoring the woman who had given everything so that truth could prevail. When they finally left, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. 1 year later, the Riverside Country Club was gone. The building had been purchased by a non-profit and converted into a community center. Where Victoria Ashford had once crushed Marcus's fingers, children now learned to read. Where the wealthy elite had ignored suffering, families now gathered for free meals and job training. Derek had stayed in Riverside, opening a training facility for veterans transitioning to civilian life. Shadow worked as a therapy dog, bringing comfort to people struggling with trauma. Chen and Williams stopped by regularly, drawn to the community they had helped save. Dr. Sarah Mitchell had her medical license reinstated. She now ran a free clinic in the building where the Ashford Foundation once laundered money. Her patients included many who had been denied care under the old regime. James Crawford entered witness protection, but sent Marcus a letter every few months. He was teaching accounting at a community college somewhere in the Midwest, finally using his skills for good instead of evil. Martha lived long enough to see Jalen go into remission. She passed peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by family, a smile on her face. Her last words were about Denise. "Tell her I'm coming," she had whispered. "Tell her I'm ready to see my baby again." Marcus honored her memory by establishing the Denise Thompson Foundation, dedicated to protecting whistleblowers and supporting investigative journalists. The foundation helped dozens of families escape abusive situations, funding legal battles against powerful interests who thought they were above the law. On the second anniversary of the Ashford trial, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. Gloria Chen, the cook from the country club, appeared at his door with tears in her eyes. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Something I should have told you years ago." "Come in, Gloria, please." They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Marcus had once planned his desperate fight against the most powerful family in Riverside. "The day Victoria attacked you," Gloria began, her voice shaking, "I was watching through the kitchen window. I saw everything." "I know." "No, you don't know." She wiped her eyes. "I saw you on the floor, bleeding, humiliated. And I did nothing. I was too scared, too worried about losing my job, my apartment, everything I had built in 30 years. "Gloria, let me finish, please." She took a breath. "I've carried that guilt every single day. Watching you stand up, watching you fight back, watching you win, and knowing that I could have helped, I could have testified, I could have added my voice to yours. You're here now. Too late. The trial is over. The Ashfords are in prison. My testimony doesn't matter anymore." "It matters to me." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "You're not too late, Gloria. You're right on time. Because the fight isn't over. It's never over. There will always be people who need help, who need someone to stand with them." "How do I do that?" "By being brave. By speaking up when it's hard. By refusing to look away when someone is being hurt." Marcus smiled. "You've already started. By coming here today. By telling me what you saw. That took courage." Gloria was crying freely now. "I'm so sorry, Marcus, for everything." "I forgive you. Now forgive yourself, and then get to work." "Work? The foundation needs volunteers, People who know what it's like to be scared, to feel powerless, to watch injustice happen without knowing what to do. Those people can teach others. They can show them that it's never too late to find your voice. Gloria stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, tell me where to start. 5 years after the trial, Jalen Thompson graduated from elementary school. He was healthy, happy, full of energy that never seemed to run out. His cancer was in complete remission, a miracle that Dr. Mitchell called unprecedented. Derek sat in the audience with Shadow, whose muzzle was gray now, his movements slower, but whose eyes still held that spark of the warrior he had always been. Jalen Thompson, the principal announced. Class valedictorian. Jalen walked to the podium, looking small against the microphone, but his voice was strong and clear. My dad taught me that heroes don't wear capes, he began. They wear work clothes. They wear scrubs. They wear military uniforms. And sometimes they just wear the same shirt they wore yesterday because they were too busy helping someone to do laundry. Laughter rippled through the audience. My mom was a hero. She died trying to expose bad people who were hurting our community. For a long time, I was sad about that. I wished she was here. I wished I could show her my grades and my drawings and all the things I've learned. Jalen paused, his eyes finding Marcus in the crowd. But then my dad taught me something else. He said that the people we love never really leave us. They live on in the choices we make, in the kindness we show, in the courage we find when things are hard. His voice grew stronger. So here's what I want everyone to remember. Be a hero. You don't need superpowers. You don't need to be big or strong or rich. You just need to care. You just need to stand up when someone is being hurt. You just need to refuse to look away. He smiled, and for a moment, Marcus saw Denise in that smile. Her strength, her determination, her unshakable belief that good would always triumph. My mom started a fight she couldn't finish. My dad finished it. And now it's my turn. My turn to fight for what's right. My turn to help people who can't help themselves. My turn to be a hero. Jalen raised his fist. Who's with me? The audience erupted. Parents, teachers, students, all of them on their feet, cheering for this small boy who had survived so much and emerged so strong. Derek wiped his eyes, not ashamed of the tears. Shadow's tail wagged furiously. And Marcus, watching his son command that stage, felt something he had never expected to feel again. Pride. Pure, overwhelming pride. After the ceremony, they gathered at the community center for a celebration. Food, music, laughter, the sounds of a community that had learned to stand together. Derek found Marcus standing alone by the window, watching Jalen play with his friends. He's something else. He's his mother's son. He's his father's, too. Derek clapped him on the shoulder. You did good, Marcus. Better than good. I had help. Everyone needs help. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Derek spoke again. I got a call yesterday from a woman in Portland. Her husband was killed in a suspicious accident. The company that employed him is claiming it was his fault. She thinks it was murder. Marcus turned to look at him. Sounds familiar. Too familiar. She's scared. She has a daughter. She doesn't know who to trust. What did you tell her? I told her I knew someone who had been through the same thing. Someone who had fought back and won. Someone who might be willing to help. Marcus thought about everything he had been through. The pain, the fear, the moments when he wanted to give up, and the people who had stood beside him, who had refused to let him fall. Give her my number. Derek smiled. Already did. That night, after everyone had gone home, Marcus sat on his porch, watching the stars. Shadow lay at his feet, his breathing slow and steady. Jalen was asleep inside, dreaming whatever dreams healthy 7-year-olds dream. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Thompson? A woman's voice, trembling with fear. My name is Rebecca Hayes. Derek Williams gave me your number. He said you might be able to help me. Marcus thought about Denise, about Martha, about all the people who had sacrificed so that his family could survive. Tell me what happened, Rebecca. My husband, David. He worked for a company called Meridian Industries. 3 weeks ago, he fell from a construction scaffold. They're saying it was an accident, but I know it wasn't. He told me he had seen things, bad things. He wanted to report them, but I begged him not to because I was scared. And now he's dead, and I don't know what to do. Her voice broke into sobs. Marcus closed his eyes. He could walk away. He could tell her to call the police, knowing the police might be compromised. He could protect the peace he had fought so hard to win. But that wasn't who he was anymore. Rebecca, listen to me. You're not alone. Whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it by yourself. But they're so powerful. They'll destroy me. They'll take everything. That's what they want you to believe, but it's not true. Power isn't about money or connections. Power is about refusing to give up. Power is about standing together. I don't have anyone to stand with. You have me. Marcus's voice was firm. You have Derek. You have a whole community of people who have been through what you're going through. We fought back. We won. And we're going to help you do the same. Silence on the other end. Then, barely audible. You really think we can win? I know we can. Because I've seen it. I've lived it. Marcus looked at the stars, thinking of Denise, feeling her presence like a warm hand on his shoulder. The bad guys think they're invincible. They think their money and their power make them gods. But they're wrong. They're always wrong. Because in the end, one person with courage is stronger than 1,000 people with fear. One person, Rebecca whispered. One person who refuses to look away. One person who stands up when everyone else sits down. One person who says, enough, when everyone else says, that's just how it is. Marcus smiled. That person can change everything, Rebecca. That person can change the world. I want to be that person. Then you already are. Now tell me everything. Start from the beginning. And don't leave anything out. Rebecca started talking, and Marcus listened, just as Derek had listened to him, just as Denise had listened to so many others before her. The cycle was continuing. The fight was ongoing. The light was spreading. Shadow raised his head and looked at Marcus with those wise, ancient eyes. His tail wagged once, slowly, as if he understood exactly what was happening. Yeah, buddy, Marcus said softly. We're not done yet. He turned his attention back to the phone, to Rebecca's voice, to the story of another family destroyed by powerful men who thought they could do whatever they wanted. They were wrong. They were always wrong. Because somewhere in the world, there would always be someone willing to stand up, someone willing to fight, someone willing to sacrifice everything for the simple belief that justice matters, that truth matters, that every single life matters. Marcus Thompson had been a waiter, a widower, a desperate father watching his son die. Now he was something else. He was a beacon, and beacons don't go dark. They shine forever. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to know that heroes walk among us every day. Type Amen in the comments if you believe that courage can conquer fear, that love can defeat hate, and that one person standing up can change the world. God bless you all. And remember, Be a hero. Stop. Help. Stay. Because that's what heroes do.